Imagine walking past a dealership in 1970 and laughing at a cartoon bird plastered on the nose of a car with a comically tall wing. That same Plymouth Superbird, once mocked as unsellable, is now a $1 million prize. Forgotten? Yes, but never forgiven by collectors. Top 1 1970 Plymouth Cutta 440 Rapid Transit Show Car. It was never meant to terrorize the drag strip or dominate stoplight duels. Instead, the 1970 Plymouth Cutta 440 Rapid Transit Show Car was created as a marketing spectacle, a rolling billboard designed to lure buyers into showrooms. And yet, decades later, it stands as a $1 million collectible. The Rapid Transit System Caravan was Plymouth's traveling circus, a collection of 4 customized Mopars that toured the country, dazzling crowds with outrageous styling. The Cutta 444 was the star. Built by stylist Harry Bradley and customizer Chuck Miller, it wore a wild candy-colored paint job, exaggerated body flares, deep front spoiler, and flush rear treatment. Only one such Cutta 440 show car was built, making it a true one-off. Inside, the cabin was just as theatrical, high-backed buckets reupholstered in bright patterns, custom door panels, and a modified console that screamed concept more than production. Underneath the glitz, though, it was still a factory-born e-body. Unlike its flamboyant exterior, the powertrain was all business. A 440 cubic-inch V8 six-pack with triple 2-barrel carburetors, officially rated at 390 horsepower gross and around 490 pound-feet of torque. On paper, this combo could propel a standard Cutta 440 six-pack to 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 5.8 seconds, and quarter miles in the low 14 seconds. But this particular car was never raced. It was trailered from show to show, polished more than punished. In many ways, its biggest performance wasn't measured on asphalt, but in the imagination of those who saw it under the lights at Plymouth's displays. By the late 1970s, the car disappeared into storage, only to resurface decades later as a survivor of an era when marketing muscle was as loud as horsepower. Its uniqueness, tied to Plymouth's factory promotional push, has made it one of the most valuable Mopars in existence. At auction in 2023, the Rapid Transit Cutta hammered for over $2 million, a staggering sum for a car that once toured as a gimmick. Today, it is preserved as both a museum piece and an icon of how even Mopar's advertising stunts became immortal. But if the Rapid Transit Sia was a showpiece born for spotlights, the next Mopar legend was a ghost, a black Challenger that stalked Detroit streets at night, vanished for decades, and returned to become one of the most mythic million-dollar muscle cars of all time. Top 2. 1970 Dodge Challenger RT SEH HEMI Black Ghost. Detroit's Woodward Avenue was a proving ground where reputations were made and destroyed in a single quarter mile. Among the tire smoke and neon lights, one car became myth, a black-on-black 1970 Dodge Challenger RT SE with a HEMI nicknamed the Black Ghost. The car's owner, Detroit police officer Godfrey Qualls, would prowl the streets late at night. He'd line up, unleash the HEMI's fury, then vanish into the shadows, disappearing for weeks at a time. This Challenger wasn't just any RT, it was one of only 23 built with the SE Special Edition package, HEMI V8, and a 4-speed manual. Externally, it was stealth perfection: black paint, a gator grain vinyl roof, chrome SE trim, and hidden headlights. Inside, it carried leather bucket seats, wood grain trim, rally gauges, and a pistol grip shifter luxury paired with menace. Beneath the hood was Chrysler's fearsome 426 cubic-inch HEMI V8, officially rated at 425 horsepower gross and 490 pound-feet of torque. In reality, output was closer to 470 horsepower. On the street, the Black Ghost could sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 5.8 seconds, and tear through the quarter mile in the low 13s at over 105 miles per hour.
You feel
Yet
like
this
you're
car's
part of the
aura
machine.
wasn't just about numbers,
Yeah,
it was
it's a
about
4-speed,
mystery.
833
After a few
manual
midnight duels,
transmission.
it would vanish, leaving only whispers and legends among Detroit's street racers. When Qualls parked the Challenger in the late 1970s, it disappeared for decades, locked away in a garage. Rediscovered by his family after his death, the car emerged as a time capsule of both Mopar history and street racing lore. In 2023, the Black Ghost was sold at Mecum Indy for over $1.07 million, becoming one of the most famous muscle cars of the era. It represents not just rarity and horsepower, but the mythology that makes certain machines larger than life. But while the Black Ghost prowled Detroit's nights, another Mopar rarity was born under the factory sun, an unassuming coronet convertible, hiding the same mighty HEMI, produced in numbers so tiny it makes legends look common. Top 3 1970 Dodge Coronet R.T. HEMI convertible. When people think of Dodge performance in 1970, they picture winged superbirds or flashy Challengers. Almost no one remembers the Coronet RT convertible. And that's exactly why today, with production so tiny, this forgotten HEMI drop top commands million-dollar reverence. The Coronet RT was Dodge's upscale B-body bruiser, square-jawed, muscular, and more restrained than its flashier siblings. For 1970, the RT received a bold twin-loop front bumper design, sculpted body lines, and rally wheels. The convertible version was already rare, with fewer than 1,000 built in total. Inside, buyers found comfort as much as muscle: vinyl bucket seats, wood grain trim, rally dash cluster, and an optional console mount shifter. But the ultimate prize was hiding under the hood. Only 2 Coronet RT convertibles were fitted with Chrysler's legendary 426 cubic inch HEMI. That 426 HEMI V8, conservatively rated at 425 horsepower gross and 490 pound-feet, turned this open-air cruiser into a drag strip assassin. Paired with either a heavy-duty 4-speed or TorqueFlite automatic, it could blast from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 5.7 seconds and rip the quarter mile in the low 13s. Imagine dropping the top and thundering down the strip, an experience so few ever knew, because the car was simply too scarce. Compared to hundreds of HEMI Cudas and Roadrunners, only 2 exist, making this Coronet one of the most exclusive muscle cars Dodge ever built. Because it was overlooked when new, many enthusiasts never even knew the HEMI Coronet convertible existed. That obscurity has become its greatest strength. When one surfaces, it's a headline-making event. At Mecum in 2014, a documented example sold for $305,000, but experts agree its true value today is far higher, likely between $1.5 million and $2 million, if one of the two ever cross the block again. More than just speed, it embodies the rarity factor that drives the muscle car market into the stratosphere. Yet Dodge wasn't the only brand building convertible HEMI dreams in 1970. Across town, Plymouth gave its cartoon bird mascot the ultimate engine, creating a Roadrunner drop top so rare it makes even seasoned collectors do a double take. Top 4 1970 Plymouth Roadrunner HEMI convertible. It was supposed to be the budget brawler, the funny car-inspired muscle machine with cartoon decals and a horn that went beep beep. But in 1970, Plymouth quietly unleashed the Roadrunner in convertible form, and with the mighty HEMI, it became one of the rarest and most expensive Mopars of all time. The 1970 Roadrunner carried a facelifted loop-loop bumper grille, sculpted rear quarters, and the playful Roadrunner graphics that separated it from Plymouth's more upscale GTX. The convertible body style added a layer of flair, offering buyers open-air thrills in a car usually seen as a stripped-down street fighter. Inside, the RT trim was basic but honest. Vinyl bench or bucket seats, simple rally gauges, and minimal luxury. Plymouth wasn't about pampering you, it was about making you grin when you floored the throttle. Out of thousands of Roadrunners sold in 1970, only 3 convertibles were ordered with the 426 HEMI. That decision turned a car built for the masses into a 1-in-a-million rarity. Beneath the hood was Chrysler's legendary 426 cubic inch HEMI V8, underrated at 425 horsepower and nearly 490 pound-feet of torque, backed by either the heavy-duty 4-speed manual with a Hurst shifter or the bulletproof TorqueFlite automatic. This cartoon bird could fly down the quarter mile in 13.5 seconds at 105 miles per hour, numbers that embarrassed plenty of so-called performance cars. Yet while the coupe and hardtop Roadrunners were everywhere, the HEMI convertible was nearly invisible. Most dealers never even saw one. The Roadrunner HEMI convertible now ranks among the most collectible Mopars in existence. Auction history proves its legend. In 2015, a pristine example crossed the Mecum block for $3.3 million, setting a benchmark for all Mopar muscle. Today, values remain comfortably in the multi-million-dollar range, cementing its place as one of the crown jewels of Detroit iron. Once a blue-collar street racer, the bird evolved into a 7-figure trophy locked away in climate-controlled garages. But Plymouth wasn't the only one blending cartoon fun with lethal power. Dodge's Challenger arrived the same year, cloaked in high style and hiding the same elephant under its hood. And in convertible form, the Challenger RT Hemi would become another mythic beast. Top 5. 1970 Dodge Challenger RT Hemi Convertible. The Plymouth Roadrunner shouted with cartoon bravado, but Dodge played it differently. In 1970, the Challenger RT Hemi Convertible was less a joke and more a statement. Muscle wrapped in luxury, a boulevard cruiser that could also crush the quarter mile. Few were built, and fewer survive. Introduced as Dodge's answer to the Mustang and Camaro wars, the Challenger offered something more refined. Its long hood, wide stance, and Coke bottle curves gave it elegance, while the RT package delivered aggression with a performance hood, rally stripes, and optional shaker scoop. Inside, the convertible blended style with muscle. High-back bucket seats, wood-grain accents, and rally gauges gave the car a premium feel rarely seen in bare-bones muscle. Out of nearly 77,000 Challengers built for 1970, only 9 convertibles were fitted with the fabled 426 Hemi. That scarcity makes it a unicorn in Mopar history, rarer even than the legendary Daytona. Under its sculpted hood sat Chrysler's 426 cubic-inch Hemi V8, officially rated at 425 horsepower, but secretly capable of 470. With 490 pound-feet of torque, the car stormed through the quarter mile in 13.6 seconds at 104 miles per hour numbers. Shocking for a luxury convertible. But here's the twist. Because only 9 were made, surviving examples have shattered records. At Meckham and Barrett-Jackson auctions, pristine Hemi Challenger RT convertibles have fetched over $1.8 million, putting them in the same financial league as Ferrari Daytonas and Shelby Cobras. What was once a showroom option has become a 7-figure relic, a paradox of brute force and elegance wrapped in Dodge sheet metal. Because of its dual nature, luxury convertible and factory dragstrip monster, the Hemi Challenger RT convertible has become one of the crown jewels of Mopar collecting. At auctions, these 9 examples command prices well into the millions. What began as Dodge's stylish counterpunch to Plymouth ended up as one of the rarest and most valuable muscle cars ever produced. But as rare as 9 cars may sound, Plymouth had Dodge beat in the numbers game. Just 1 year later, the Cuda would take the same Hemi formula, wrap it in sharper styling, and cut production so low it makes even the Challenger look common. Top 6. 1971 Plymouth Hemi Cuda Convertible. If the Dodge Challenger Hemi Convertible was rare, the 1971 Plymouth Hemi Cuda Convertible was practically mythical. With styling sharpened like a knife and production numbers that could be counted on 2 hands, it became the holy grail of Mopar muscle, an icon that collectors whisper about in awe. Plymouth refreshed the Cuda for 1971 with a more aggressive face, quad headlamps recessed into a menacing grille, shaker hood scoop rising like a warning, and deeply sculpted fenders that seemed ready to pounce. The convertible body style amplified the drama, letting sunlight pour over the high-back bucket seats and rally dash, trimmed in wood grain and bristling with gauges. It was beauty married to menace. But rarity was its ultimate trait. Out of all the E-body Cudas built, just 11 Hemi convertibles rolled out of Plymouth's factories in 1971. 11. Each fitted with Chrysler's most brutal engine option. That engine was, of course, the 426 cubic-inch Hemi V8, rated at 425 horsepower and nearly 500 pound-feet of torque. On paper, it matched its 1970 predecessor, but stricter insurance costs, rising emissions, and looming fuel crises meant fewer buyers were willing to gamble on such an outrageous machine. Yet for those who did, the payoff was incredible. The 71 Hemi Cuda could rip the quarter mile in the low 13-second range, pushing over 105 miles per hour. Even with its convertible chassis, it was no boulevard poser. It was a storm wrapped in sheet metal. Today, those 11 cars stand as the most coveted Mopars ever built. Auction prices have soared past $3.5 million, and for good reason. Their combination of drop-top elegance, Hemi power, and unmatched scarcity cements them as crown jewels of the muscle car era. When people speak of Mopars that became million-dollar collectibles, this car leads the conversation. Yet the story doesn't end in 1971. Just a year earlier, Plymouth built another Hemi Cuda convertible, slightly less rare but every bit as ferocious, and its legend, though overshadowed, still commands respect among Mopar fanatics. Top 7, 1970 Plymouth HEMI-powered convertible. Before the unicorn of 1971, there was the original drop-top beast, the 1970 Plymouth HEMI-powered convertible. It was loud, unapologetic, and brutally fast. Yet what makes it unforgettable isn't just its power, but how shockingly few were ever built. 1970 marked the debut of the third-generation Barracuda, now on Chrysler's brand-new E-body platform. Wider, lower, and sleeker than its predecessors, it shed the economy car image and re-emerged as a full-fledged muscle car. The Cuda trim shouted aggression with bold stripes, shaker hood scoop, and muscular quarter panels. Inside, high-back bucket seats, a pistol grip shifter, and a Rallier instrument cluster gave drivers a cockpit as serious as the performance promised. The convertible added flair. Top-down, the Cuda revealed its dual personality, cruise in style or unleash fury at the drag strip. But only the bravest, wealthiest, or most reckless dared order it, with the legendary HEMI. Just 14 examples of the 1970 HEMI-powered convertible were produced. Each came with Chrysler's most outrageous power plant, the 426 cubic inch HEMI V8, rated at 425 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque. Hooked to either a 4-speed manual or torque flight automatic, it could demolish the quarter mile in 13.4 seconds at 18 miles per hour, all while the driver's hair blew in the wind. It was the ultimate contradiction, a muscle car for sun-soaked boulevards, yet brutal enough for the drag strip. Collectors today see this car as the foundation of Mopar's most valuable legacy. With only 14 in existence, survivors now command staggering auction values, one crossing the block for over $2.2 million. Its mix of rarity, convertible glamour, and HEMI brutality makes it not just a collectible but an artifact of when muscle cars reached their zenith. But while the HEMI-powered convertible dazzled with exclusivity, Plymouth had another wildcard in 1970, a car born not for the streets, but for NASCAR victory lanes. With its towering wing and arrow-shaped nose, it broke every rule of design, and it's next on our list. Top 8 1970 Plymouth Superbird HEMI. It looked less like a car and more like a spaceship that crash-landed in a dealership lot. The 1970 Plymouth Superbird wasn't built for style points, it was built to win races. With its towering wing and spear-like nose cone, this machine turned highways into speed labs and became one of Mopar's strangest legends. The Superbird was Plymouth's answer to Dodge's Charger Daytona, a product of the Aero Wars in NASCAR. Its purpose was singular: dominate on the superspeedways. To homologate it for racing, Plymouth had to build just under 2,000 road-legal examples, each one a rolling loophole designed to exploit NASCAR's rulebook. On the outside, the Superbird was unforgettable: 19-inch nose cone, retractable headlights, and that absurd 23-inch rear wing, designed not for looks, but to plant the car at 200 miles per hour. Inside, however, it was pure roadrunner: bench or bucket seats, cartoon decals, pistol grip shifter, and Chrysler's familiar rally gauges. It was half race car, half cartoon, and all attitude. Of the approximately 1,920 Superbirds built, just 135 were fitted with the legendary 426 HEMI V8. This fire-breathing monster made 425 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque, launching the winged warrior down the quarter mile in 13.5 seconds at 105 miles per hour. Most buyers opted for the 440 six-barrel, but the HEMI cars instantly became the holy grail. Back then, though, the Superbird's outrageous looks actually hurt sales. Dealers had trouble moving them off lots, some even stripping the nose cones to make them sell. Time, however, transformed ridicule into reverence. The Superbird HEMI is now one of the most coveted Mopars ever built, with auction prices easily surpassing $1.5 million. Its rarity, its link to Richard Petty's NASCAR dominance, and its sheer audacity have made it the poster child of the Aero War era. What once gathered dust in dealer backlots now sits under glass as a $1 million relic of motorsport excess. The Superbird remains frozen in time, half cartoon, half race-bred missile, and all legend. Its silhouette alone can still silence a crowd, that giant wing casting a shadow longer than its sales history ever suggested. For a car once laughed at on dealer lots, its revenge is poetic. Beauty, speed, and value rolled into one unforgettable machine. From backlot oddities to glass-cased treasures, these Mopars prove time has the final word. What once drew ridicule now commands respect, not just for speed but for daring design and rarity. Each one tells a story of an era when rules were bent, limits were broken, and history was accidentally written. Collectors today aren't just buying cars, they're buying proof that vision, even when misunderstood, can outlive fashion and fortune. And that's why these forgotten Mopars, once dismissed, now stand as million-dollar monuments to one of the boldest decades in American muscle.